Welcome to Rising Core, powered by Burman's Health Shop.
On our show, we have my younger brother, Marty, and his childhood hero growing up, Mr. Bob Backlund, Pro Wrestling Hall of Famer, unbelievable, 70 years young and looking fantastic. Bob, thank you very much for making the long trip.
It's great to be here. It's great to be here for sure. Marty, thank you for that email. You set it on fire, and now we're going to go further and further and further and get better and better and better.
I tell you what, Bob's been here for about 5 hours. He showed up at about 2 o'clock, and my energy levels have actually went up because of his energy is just tremendous, and it really just absorbs into your body. It's so great to be here.
That's why they call it Backlund energy.
That's right,
and I kind of like that.
Absolutely,
we're fired up.
Absolutely,
it's hard to believe he's off the air, such a nice guy, but I mean, you talk about that's a vicious sport, professional World Wrestling Federation grappling, I'll call it that.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's,
yeah. When I was growing up, and this is the reason that Bob's here today.
That's Mr. Backlund to you, young man.
Yes, that's correct, Mr. Backlund. 1994, when he made his comeback after winning the World Championship in 1978 in February at Madison Square Garden. I was the kid that stayed home on Saturdays, and I watched Bob Backlund wrestle. And he was a great guy on the television and in the mat at the Philadelphia Spectrum. I used to watch him. And it's nice to know that he's the same person in real life as he was in the squared circle. And I'm so happy for this day. And we're just having a blast today.
Yeah, so
we've had a blast.
Can I call you Bob or Mr. Backlund?
You can call me anything you want.
Except for late for dinner.
Late for dinner.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is great being and we're podcasting here at Burman's Health Shop in Brookhaven. Bob Backlund, wrestling legend. You live, you said, what, 3-hour trip, round trip, about 6 hours
real close to Hartford, Connecticut.
There you go.
It was 224 miles to get here, and I had fun all the way down here in the car.
What high school did you go to?
Princeton High School.
And it's still there to this day?
Still there, yes.
And you got into high school wrestling?
I started wrestling, but I was the worst wrestler ever, and I was the worst football player, and I couldn't do track very well either back then. I was the worst at everything I ever did.
How did you went to Carson Wentz's alma mater, or I say Carson Wentz went to your alma mater, college, North Dakota State, and you were an unbelievable wrestler and tremendous football player. How did you get so good?
When I was 15 years old, I saw a guy win the state tournament, and he was my age. And I said, if he can do it, why can't I? And I went home and got 2 5-gallon pails, and I filled them up with cement, put a pipe in the middle. That's my new barbell.
And this is high school wrestling.
This is high school wrestling.
So
that's my new barbell, and I started lifting that. And the next year, I wrestled the guy that I thought I should be, and I beat him. And that was like hard work pays off. I learned a lesson at 15 years old. You work hard. You are going to get someplace, and you are going to like that. And I still think about those days and me coming home and working out with that the cement pipes, and it changed my whole life, and it got better and better and better. And everything I did was to get stronger. I went down and asked the football coach, I need a football helmet. He said, why? I'm gonna drill a hole in it, and I'm gonna put a screw in there, and I'm gonna put a 25-pound weight on there, and I'm gonna put a nut on there, and I'm gonna wear that while I run, so I can stretch or make my neck stronger while I'm running. I don't want to waste any time.
Wow! And he won a national championship. You won a national championship at North Dakota State in wrestling. That's unbelievable.
In wrestling, and it was at North Dakota State University, and I beat the guy that was seated first. I didn't get seated because I played football up until January 9th, and half the wrestling season when it was over when I got on the team. But I beat him with a bear hug.
Wow.
And I picked him up off the ground and held him up off the ground for about a minute, and the whole place went crazy. Bucky Mond, who was a wrestler in Pennsylvania, said that was the loudest noise that he ever heard in his life in a wrestling room.
Yeah, talking about Pennsylvania, we are with Iowa, and you say out Midwest or out West too, they're pretty good, but Pennsylvania, top 2 or 3 states in high school wrestling talent. You know how good Penn State's doing with Cale Sanderson.
Yeah.
So, and then your coach was from Pennsylvania. There you go.
Yeah. Well, no, Pennsylvania has great amateur wrestling. And you know what? That's a good thing to get your children into, because you learn a lot of lessons. The first thing you learn is that you have a problem. You got to fix it. You can't blame it on the quarterback.
Correct.
Take that problem, fix it, and never make that mistake again.
Now, Marty, one of your sons, Leo, going into his senior year, he finally got into wrestling at Friends Central High School, right outside of Philly. He did a great job this year.
Yeah, he really did. The wrestling coach contacted him. He actually had him for social studies, and he asked Leo to think about coming on board, and he had some success. He really didn't know what he was doing. It was the first time he had ever wrestled. But he pinned a few kids just from brute strength, and it builds character. He's a baseball player. He just committed to York College in York, Pennsylvania. But I'm hoping he comes back his senior year and wrestles. And it was a lot of fun. I'll tell you what, you're on that mat for 20 I never really was introduced to amateur wrestling, but you're on that mat for 40 seconds, and it's the most exciting 40 seconds that you've ever seen. It's the truth.
And you better be ready, because it burns up a lot of your calories, and you got to be ready to handle that.
Yes, absolutely.
It can feel like forever, that 40 seconds.
What's the longest match that you had?
Well, there's 6-minute matches.
Okay.
In high school, there was 6-minute matches,
Okay.
2-minute periods, and I think it went up to 9 in college.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. It's awesome. I hope he does it again. He had a blast. It was exciting when he pinned a couple of kids. I felt bad for them.
Yes.
So you graduate North Dakota State.
Well, I got finished with college wrestling, and then football finished, and then I left. I had 3 credits left to take to get my degree. And I didn't take it till 1983 at Central Connecticut State University. And then I sent the 3 credits back to North Dakota, and I finally got my degree.
That's wonderful.
That's awesome. How did you end up at North Dakota State? First, you grew up outside of Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Yeah.
Minnesota. How'd you end up in Connecticut?
Bucky Mond was the wrestling coach there, and he was married to a lady from Princeton, Minnesota. And he came to Princeton, Minnesota at Christmas time, and he came to practice with his sister's brother. And the first time he was there, he said, the coach said, why don't you wrestle with him a little bit, meaning me. Bucky, man, come over and wrestle wrestling. And he beat me up that year. And that was the year that I found a weight machine, and I got stronger. The next year he came to help his son wrestle. And he said that he asked the coach, "Who's that guy over there in the corner there?" And the guy said, "That's Bob Backlund." He said, "I'm not wrestling with him this year because of what changed on my body."
Yeah.
I had some muscle.
Yeah.
And it was getting better. And he didn't think he would want to take that on.
So we're, again, with Bob Backlund, legend, professional wrestler, and 70 years young, and I want to talk about it. You look unbelievable. How are you doing it?
You live every day, and you live every day to the fullest. And you do what you got to do to keep your energy level high. And you know what? You're out there, you're the person that has to do that. You can't put that responsibility on anybody else. And I learned that a long time ago. And I made every mistake there is to make in your life. Back when I was 15 years old. I already did it. Now, and then I finally changed it, and I live my life one day at a time, and I do what I got to do to keep it good.
And you're traveling all over the place, which is, and you say off the air, you said you enjoy driving. You don't mind driving 3 hours here, 3 hours there.
No, driving is fun for me. I have a party while I'm driving. I on August 14th of this last year at 6 o'clock on that day, I drove down to Charlotte, North Carolina, and on my way down there, I sang "Happy Birthday" to myself. I turned 70 that day.
Awesome.
I was in the car all day.
And your family doesn't come with you?
It was 750 miles to get down there, and then I drove back.
Unbelievable.
That's incredible. And you're married for a long time, like 52 years?
Yeah, 42, 45.
45 years. And her name again is?
Corky. They call her Corky.
Corky.
And she's a gymnastics coach for ladies.
Oh, there you go. And you have a daughter.
Yeah. She's Carrie.
Or as we say in Delaware County, southeastern PA, daughter.
Yeah.
So anyway, but I've learned. I was out in central PA for a long time. So anyway, so your family doesn't come with you. You say on your trips, you like coming by yourself?
Family's family. And the business is the business. And that's my business.
How does that sound, Marty?
It sounds good. It sounds independent. It sounds healthy. I like it.
So how'd you get into professional wrestling? You went right from college to professional wrestling?
No, not right from college. I played 1 year of semi-pro football, or not semi-pro football. I went to Chicago Bears. I worked out at their camp for new people, and I went there for 1 year. And
the Bears.
Yeah. And then I went there 1 year, and I came home. On the way home, I thought I'd kind of get out of this. There was guys that had been there 10 years and never got any place. Mm-hmm. So I said, I'm going to go and try the wrestling business. So Eddie Sharkey at the 7th Street Gym in Minneapolis trained me, and I loved the business. I loved every day. I had fun every day, and the people were fantastic. I can't believe when you get into a building full of people, and the amount of energy and the amount of strength they give you when they cheer your name, it's off the records.
Marty, you lived it. You went to events. I went to one in Hershey, it's still there, Hershey Park Arena. You went to the legendary Spectrum here in Philadelphia.
Yeah, I was so excited today, knowing that I was going to meet my childhood hero. And I went upstairs to the attic, and I collected wrestling magazines. And I think that's actually of a pretty decent vocabulary. I think that's actually how I got such a good vocabulary, is there were some pretty good writers in these magazines. Wrestling Review and Inside Wrestling. And my dad, what really started was my dad had a pharmacy in Chester, and he carried magazines. So when I was working the store and he would tell me to clean shelves and stuff like that, when I'm 7, 8 years old, I'm picking up wrestling magazines and reading them. And then eventually it led to, watching all the matches on Saturday mornings and Saturday afternoons and the promos. And then I would go to the Philadelphia Spectrum. My brother Steve, me and you, David, we never got a chance to go, but Steve would take me. And one of the events, it was Bob against Bobby Duncombe on a February in 1980. And in those days, the results of the matches were in the newspaper the next day. I mean, that doesn't happen anymore. And it said it was the largest crowd that has ever been at the Philadelphia Spectrum to that point. There was over 21,000 people. People were being turned away, David. It was unbelievable. People wanted to see Bob Backlund go against these monstrous creatures. And he, the All-American boy, took care of business. Most of the time, he took care of business.
And your book.
Yeah.
I talk about his book here.
Yeah.
That you have here at Burman's Health Shop in Brookhaven, Delaware County.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked, Dave, because a friend of mine, Tony, that went to school with me, high school at Strathaven High School, he lives in Vegas. At any rate, on Facebook, he said, you got to get Bob's book. I want to see what you think about it. Went to Amazon, bought Bob's book, 450 pages, unbelievable inside track on what actually this business is all about. And it was just so exciting for me to read it. I read it in four days. His life, about the angles in the pro game. And I was so inspired that I emailed Bob, and he's here. He said, I said, I would like you to come down and work with you to spread the word about your 6 principles, about what you can do to be a healthier, happier human being. And all these things over the phone just led me to believe that this guy really is the guy that was in the ring. The All-American Bully. He really, and I said, Bob, why don't you come? And he said, yeah, I'll come down. But I didn't expect him to come down to do the podcast. He came down today to do the podcast. And then November 1st and 2nd, we're going to have him down for 2 full days. And it's a dream come true for me. And I've had such a blast with you, Bob. Just, my wife was here earlier, and he put me in a couple of moves, and I gave him an arm bar. And then, we've been watching old wrestling reels and talking about wrestling.
Yeah.
I loved it. I loved every second watching you perform. And I couldn't get enough of it. I couldn't.
Yeah. And I can't thank you enough for that. But in the rest of my life, I want to do some things to encourage people and to fire them up. And when I was wrestling, the people cheered. They energized me. They energized me stronger and stronger and stronger. And at this point, I want to energize them some way.
I think it comes down to my brother Dave. As a kid, we knew at 11 or 12 years old that he was going to be a sports broadcaster, and he knew it too. And he lives and has been living his dream for the last 50 years. There's nobody more passionate about sports and amateur sports, high school sports, than my brother Dave. So I think you can't meet a much happier person than you, because you've made a choice to do what you love. And so did you, Bob. And I own a business, and it's tough, but I am enjoying a lot of the things that we're doing here, like this podcast, and this just gives me a lot of joy just having your book here and having you sign it for people on November 1st and 2nd. Yeah. But I think it's great that you're inspiring people. You've inspired me.
Yeah. We're going to come back and spend some time here, and I want to get to talk to as many people as I can, especially some of the people that are up there in age a little bit. There's some things that you should be doing to keep yourself in good shape, and falling is our worst enemy, and we got to eliminate that falling in some way or another.
Bob, people that are down and out, and have issues with depression and things of that nature, like and anxiety, because there's so much bad stuff going on in the world. What's your advice for them? I mean, I know there's a lot of things that they can do to get to feel better, but how do you maintain that energy? How do you get it to begin with?
All the things around you, you don't need to hear. It's just a negative. And you don't want negative thoughts in your mind. So you don't need to hear it. We don't have a TV. So I don't hear it. I know what my day is going to be like. I know how I'm going to feel in that day. And I'm going to sleep. And I'm not going to have any dreams. I'm going to sleep all night and get up and do the same thing the next day. But I'm not going to let anybody pull me down.
Sounds like you, right, Dave?
Sort of, not really. Too much internet follow. Well, I do a lot of the computer following the.
But you know what you're going to do during the
sports.
day.
Yeah, I know what I'm pretty. Yeah, but do you listen to radio?
Occasionally, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but I don't. If it's goofy,
yeah. What kind of music do you like? What's your
country and western.
country? My standing ovation from my wife.
Good old
behind
country.
you. Yeah.
The stamp, please. Yeah.
We have some country western stations down here in the southeastern PA. Why did you want to write the book, Backlund, All-American Boy?
I wanted to have the story out before something happened to me, and I actually had a book written in '85, and nobody would publish it, and then I'm thinking. I remember returning, getting into the '60s, and I said, "Geez, I don't have a book out yet." And then in 2009, Rob Miller, he's up in Massachusetts. He sent me an email, and he said, "You were my childhood hero, and I want to write a book about you."
Yeah. Same thing as us.
Same, yeah. It sounds familiar, but anyway. And then he wanted to find out if I was really the guy that he idolized too. So we met in the Glastonbury Library the next couple days, and I told him my life story, and he put it in that book. And it took us 5 years to do that because he has two boys. At that time, he had two boys and a wife, and he had a lot of other things going on in his life. We met, and we would go meet in places at libraries and different places. Like it would take us 5 hours, 6 hours, 10 hours, and it would seem like it was only 30 minutes. We were having so much fun. And every meeting we had, it was like a wrestling match. Every meeting got more intense and more intense. We were going to blow up just one of these times. It was just really, really, I can't explain it, but it almost makes me shake.
Yeah, there you go.
More now.
Yeah. Here we go. Here we go.
Let's have fun too.
Yes.
There
Chicken
he
wing.
is, yes.
Crossface chicken wing. Put you to
And I
sleep.
think I'm done for the day. Good. Ladies and gentlemen, stand up and be proud and smile.
There you go.
Yes.
The legend
Yes,
and
sir.
Hall of Famer, Bob Backlund.
Where you going, Bob?
There you go.
I'm going to go outside and smile.
Okay.
It's awesome.
Okay.
Unbelievable. Bob Backlund, but he will be back. He will be back. Marty, you and I are fumbling, bumbling, mumbling, stumbling, which is hard to believe.
Well, I thought listen, Bob took off. I mean, but as he was walking out the door, he said, you got to come back November 1st and November 2nd and meet him. He's going to be here to autograph the book. It's about his life story. It's about how he's going to energize everybody. And this guy is 70 years old, and he's got more energy than anybody I know. So we're going to finish this story when he gets back on November 1st and 2nd.
All right. Well, thank you for letting me be part of this, Marty.
Yeah, absolutely. David, I want to thank you very much for doing this, for coming in, to seeing my hero tonight, and to spend some time with us, because I want to get you back on here maybe to do some more sports related stuff. But I appreciate it and look forward to November 1st and 2nd when Bob comes back here to Brookhaven. This is Rising Core. This is the Burman's Health Shop podcast that we do here. And we appreciate everybody for listening. And remember, Backlund, BACKLUND is the coupon. Professional wrestling's world champion. His autobiography, it will energize you. I'm energized. I'm pumped up. I'm ready to go. We can do this. November 1st and 2nd, come out and see Bob. Thanks, everybody.